The sky darkens, a shadow spreading across the land as Sauron's armies march forward. Orcs, Uruk-hai, and men, all bound by the Dark Lord's will, advance in perfect unison. At their head towers Sauron himself, a figure of terror, his armor black as midnight, his presence bending the air with malice. The ground trembles beneath their march, as if Middle-earth itself recoils from his coming. But in the old forest, there is no fear. A bright melody drifts through the trees, cheerful and carefree. From behind a bend in the path emerges Tom Bombadil, skipping lightly, a piece of straw dangling from his lips. His patched boots tap the earth rhythmically as he hums his nonsensical tune. "Hey doll, merry doll, ring-a-dong-dillo." Tom pauses mid-stride, tilting his head, as if hearing something distant. His bright blue eyes twinkle with curiosity, but there's no trace of alarm. He gazes at the distant shadow on the horizon, then chuckles softly. "Well now, what's this? Old Tom's got a visitor. Come along then, for there's naught to fear here." Two beings, opposites in every way, destined never to meet in Tolkien's narrative. But what if they did? This is the story fans have debated for years. Tom Bombadil versus Sauron. Could the jolly master of the old forest stand against the Dark Lord himself? Or would his carefree nature be no match for Sauron's boundless will to dominate? Today, we unravel this mystery, delving deep into their powers, philosophies, and the eternal question: what happens when the immovable mystery faces the irresistible force? Bombadil first appears in the Fellowship of the Ring as a jovial figure who rescues Frodo and his companions from the dangers of the old forest. But behind his playful demeanor lies a profound mystery. When Frodo offers him the One Ring, a source of corruption and temptation for all who encounter it, Tom's reaction is startling. Tossing it in the air like a trinket, he makes it disappear and places it on his finger without vanishing. As Tolkien describes, then Tom put the ring round the end of his little finger and held it up to the candlelight. For a moment, the hobbits noticed nothing strange about this. Then they gasped. There was no sign of Tom disappearing. This act unsettles Frodo and the others, for it defies everything they know about the ring's overwhelming power. Gandalf later explains, "The ring has no power over him. He is his own master." Tom's immunity to the ring's corruption is as baffling as his origins. He refers to himself as the eldest, claiming to have been present before the rivers, trees, and stars, even before Morgoth, the first Dark Lord, entered Arda. As he tells the hobbits, Tom remembers the first raindrop and the first acorn. He knew the dark under the stars when it was fearless, before the Dark Lord came from outside. Moreover, the natural world bends to his will. He sings Old Man Willow into submission, commands the weather, and moves through the old forest as its undisputed master. Even the river daughter Goldberry reveres him as her equal, though his exact nature remains beyond comprehension. Yet for all his power, Bombadil remains a paradox. Gandalf and Elrond both recognize his detachment from the struggles of Middle-earth. At the Council of Elrond, the wise debate whether Bombadil could oppose Sauron. Glorfindel offers a grim warning. "If all else is conquered, Bombadil will fall, last as he was first, and then night will come." Tom Bombadil's power is undeniable, but his refusal to intervene leaves him outside the fate of Middle-earth. His enigmatic existence challenges the structures of power and struggle, embodying harmony and freedom in a world increasingly bound by conflict. As Frodo asks, marveling at Tom's mystery, who is he really? And therein lies the wonder and the frustration of Bombadil. He is the one being who lives utterly free, bound not by fear, power, or ambition. But would such a figure, ancient and untouched, be capable of facing Sauron, the ultimate embodiment of domination? That question lingers, as timeless as Bombadil himself. If Tom Bombadil embodies the carefree spirit of freedom and harmony, Sauron stands as his absolute antithesis, a relentless force of domination and control. Once known as Myron, Sauron began his existence as a Maya, a divine spirit serving Aule the smith, reveling in the perfection of form and order. Yet this obsession with control made him susceptible to the corruption of Melkor, the first Dark Lord. As the Silmarillion recounts, in the beginning he was of the Maiar of Aule, and he remained mighty in the lore of that people. In all the deeds of Melkor, the Morgoth upon Arda, in his vast works and in the deceits of his cunning, Sauron had a part and was only less evil than his master, in that for long he served another and not himself. When Morgoth fell, Sauron rose to fill the void, crafting a reign of calculated terror built not on destruction but on manipulating minds and subjugating wills. His most fearsome weapon, the One Ring, was forged in deception, binding the rings of power to his dominion. As its inscription declares, one ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. This mastery of craft was matched only by his cunning, enabling him to corrupt not just individuals, but entire civilizations, including Numenor, the greatest kingdom of men, which he led to ruin. As the Silmarillion states, thus Sauron established himself more firmly than ever and took up residence in Numenor. Yet he was not content, and his cunning and lies grew stronger. Even without the ring, his oppressive presence inspired fear, symbolized by the all-seeing eye. Frodo described it as, the eye was rimmed with fire, but was itself glazed, yellow as a cat's, watchful and intent, and the black slit of its pupil opened on a pit, a window into nothing. Yet Sauron was more than a tyrant. He was a vision of absolute order, taken to its darkest extreme, a force that sought to remake Middle-earth in his own image, stripping it of freedom and imposing an unyielding hierarchy. As Tolkien himself reflected in letters, he was not a pure villain. He was a being of great imagination, and his desire for power was linked to his love of order and dislike of confusion. In every way, Sauron's calculated malice stood opposed to Bombadil's unshakable harmony, making their contrast a battle not only of power, but of philosophies, a timeless struggle between the forces of freedom and domination. Bombadil's strength lies in his effortless command over the natural world. He doesn't wield weapons or armies, but he doesn't need to. The old forest itself is his shield and sword. When Bombadil calls, the trees uproot themselves, rivers rise in roaring floods, and the very earth splits to repel intruders. He doesn't fight, he sings, and the land obeys. In his domain, Bombadil seems untouchable. When the hobbits were trapped by Old Man Willow, a single verse from Bombadil was enough to quell the ancient tree's malice. If Sauron's forces dared to invade, the old forest would become a labyrinth of shifting roots and grasping vines, swallowing armies whole. On the other side, Sauron's strength lies in his domination. He bends creatures, men, and even the elements to his iron will. Through the One Ring, his influence extends far beyond his physical form. His armies are vast, disciplined, and armed with weapons of destruction forged in the fires of Mount Doom. Sauron is not just a conqueror, he is a force of unrelenting ambition, capable of wearing down even the strongest defenses. Even without the ring, Sauron commands fear. His mere presence drains the courage of his enemies, turning even the bravest warriors into quivering shadows of themselves. Could Bombadil's carefree confidence withstand such malice? If Sauron were to bring his forces into the Old Forest, the clash would be nothing short of mythic. Orcs and trolls would find themselves lost in a maze of ancient oaks, their weapons torn from their hands by living roots. Rivers would rise to drown siege engines, and wolves would howl from the shadows before striking with eerie precision. But Sauron, would not rely on brute force alone. He would find a way to corrupt the land itself, turning Bombadil's allies against him. Could even the master of wood, water and hill resist the slow poison of Sauron's malice spreading through his realm? Bombadil's strength is immense, but it has boundaries. His power is tied to the land he inhabits. Step beyond it, and his influence wanes. Sauron, however, commands a far-reaching dominion. He doesn't need to enter the old forest himself. His reach could spread from afar, choking it with darkness and despair. Still, Bombadil's greatest weapon is his unpredictability. Sauron's strategy relies on understanding and exploiting his enemies. But how do you outmaneuver someone who doesn't play by the rules of war, who answers marching armies with laughter and songs? Their clash wouldn't be one of simple strength, but of strategy and cunning. Bombadil, with his ancient connection to the land, might unleash powers even Sauron hasn't anticipated. Even with his unyielding persistence, might push the old forest to its breaking point. Victory is uncertain, but one thing is clear. Should these two powers collide, the very fabric of Middle-earth would tremble in their wake. At first glance, the idea of Tom Bombadil defeating Sauron seems absurd. A merry, singing figure pitted against the Dark Lord of domination and malice. Yet Bombadil's carefree demeanor hides a mystery so profound that even the wise struggle to understand him. His immunity to the corrupting power of the One Ring hints at a strength beyond the grasp of Middle-earth's greatest evils. Bombadil's immunity to the ring is unmatched. While the ring tempts even Gandalf and Aragorn, Bombadil treats it as a harmless trinket, tossing it into the air without a second thought. He even wears it briefly, showing no sign of invisibility or corruption. Despite his remarkable abilities, Bombadil's power is not invincible. The Council of Elrond acknowledges that Bombadil's strength is tied to his realm, and Sauron's influence extends far beyond such boundaries. Elrond notes, "Power to defy our enemy is not in him unless such power is in the earth itself." And yet we see that Sauron can torture and destroy the very hills. Bombadil's harmony and detachment, while strengths, also reveal his vulnerabilities. Sauron would not need to confront Bombadil directly. Instead, he could corrupt and dominate the land surrounding the Old Forest, isolating Bombadil until his realm withers. This slow encroachment would exploit Bombadil's unwillingness to leave his domain and engage in the wider struggles of Middle-earth. Even at the Council, the wise recognized this limitation when considering giving him the ring. He would not have heeded the Council. And if he were given the ring, he would soon forget it, or most likely throw it away. But he would not have the power to keep it from Sauron forever. The battle between Bombadil and Sauron is not one of raw strength, but of endurance and will. Bombadil's defiance lies in his freedom, his refusal to bow to power or despair. Yet Sauron's shadow is relentless, grinding away at resistance over centuries. Could Bombadil's song and connection to nature outlast Sauron's cunning and persistence? Or would the Dark Lord's methods eventually silence even Middle-earth's most enigmatic figure? Perhaps the answer lies in Bombadil's words to Frodo and his companions, "Tom was here before the dark, and Tom will be here when it is gone." The air grows heavy as the skies darken, choked by the smoke of Sauron's forges. A host of orcs, trolls, and corrupted creatures marches relentlessly toward the Old Forest, their war drums echoing like distant thunder. At their head, a monstrous lieutenant clad in blackened steel, bearing the banners of the Great Eye, issues the call to arms. The Dark Lord's gaze has turned to the last, untamed corner of Middle-earth, the sanctuary of Tom Bombadil. And yet, at the edge of the forest, the drums falter. The soldiers hesitate. A strange melody floats on the breeze, light and carefree, as though the very land mocks their presence. Out steps Tom Bombadil, his yellow boots gleaming in the fading sunlight. his blue jacket as vivid as a summer sky. He waves cheerfully as if greeting old friends. "Hey now! Ho now! What's all this fuss? Marching and stomping, kicking up dust. The trees are annoyed and the grass is distressed. Off with you all and give nature some rest." The orcs snarl, raising their blades, but their steps falter. Bombadil stands unarmed, smiling, and yet the ground beneath their feet trembles as though the land itself takes offense at their presence. The first wave charges, screaming war cries. But before they reach the glade, the forest awakens. Vines erupt from the earth, wrapping around orc legs and pulling them into the soil. Trees groan and creak as their roots surge forward, toppling trolls and smashing siege engines. Bombadil raises a hand, and the nearby river swells, its waters rushing forth to sweep away whole battalions. "Old Man Willow sends his regards," Bombadil says with a wink, as the ancient tree uproots itself to snatch up a squad of goblins. Birds dive from the skies, pecking at the eyes of trolls, while wolves and bears emerge from the shadows, their howls a chilling harmony to Bombadil's relentless song. The lieutenant of Sauron roars in defiance, raising a mace crackling with dark energy, but Bombadil only laughs. "Ho, ho! You're a noisy lot, but noise won't do here. Now, back to your master, and take him a note. Tom Bombadil isn't one to provoke." From the black skies, a figure begins to form, a shadow more solid than the night itself. Sauron does not march with his armies. He is above such things. But here, in the heart of this maddening forest, he materializes, a towering wraith of flame and malice. His voice booms, shaking the earth. "You cannot defy me, Bombadil. All things bow to my will. You are but a fool dancing in the twilight." Bombadil tilts his head, unconcerned. "Bow to you? Ho, now that's a joke. I've been here since before your master Morgoth first spoke. Your ring, it's a trinket. Your shadow, a breeze. You're no more to me than a hiccup to the trees." The clash is not one of swords or spells, but of essence, light and shadow, harmony and domination. Sauron surges forward, his will attempting to crush Bombadil's spirit, to blot out his song. But Bombadil laughs, and his melody grows louder, more vibrant. "Sing now, sun. Dance now, earth. Let no shadow linger in your mirth." The forest glows with life, the leaves shimmering like emeralds, the ground pulsing with ancient power. Sauron's shadow falters, his flame flickering as though starved of air. Bombadil steps forward, unshaken. He opens his hand, and from the air itself, a green door appears, shimmering with runes of creation. "This world has no place for your shadow. Go now, beyond the veil, where no song will follow." With a flick of his wrist, Bombadil casts Sauron's essence into the void, the green door snapping shut with a sound like thunder. The forest falls silent. The invaders have fled or been swallowed by the earth. The sun breaks through the clouds, bathing the land in golden light. Tom Bombadil returns to his house by the Withywindle, his boots barely scuffed, his jacket as bright as ever. Goldberry looks up from her weaving and smiles. "Well?" she asks, her voice like the sound of rushing waters. Bombadil sits down, pulling off his boots with a contented sigh. "Oh, just some noise in the woods. Nothing a bit of singing couldn't fix." He grins, leaning back in his chair. "Well, I'm back." Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.